This is for all you multi-talented, multitasking, multi-everything people out there. Take it away.
Find your glory, write your story, fearless feet will carry you. Time you own it, take your moment, be a fire burning through. Hustling from night until morning, grinding it out, it won't be long. Feel your power, it's your hour, you inspire, you are strong.
Enjoy your Zoa. No applause? You're all fired.
Now that you've reached the stage in your life where quality television is important, Nubian TV is a black network that speaks to your lifestyle. Nubian TV is the world's first digital network devoted to the upscale and political lifestyles of black people. Nubian TV's programming includes politics, travel, fashion, food, automotive, arts and culture, civil rights, music, and more. Watch now on Amazon Fire TV, Roku, or watch globally at NubianTV.net. Nubian TV, it's what you want to watch. Now,
Hey, good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Money. Are you ready? They are ready. Covering the biggest events in the country right now.
There's a lot going on here this morning.
It's always a good time. That's what the show's about.
That's good.
Really good.
Very good.
Coming in hot. Jimmy coming in hot.
It's far from elementary.
Good morning, America. I'm not going to try to strut like Michael or anything.
I have known George a long, long time.
Have you ever gotten him to dance?
Look at that face.
You don't just see it, you feel it.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in too.
I'll be there.
I am here and so happy.
I'm in.
I'm in too.
I'm in.
That tells you something when Snoop Dogg's in. Michael, George, where?
Ginger.
Prepare for a journey beyond imagination, beyond belief, beyond anything you've experienced before. Universal Epic Universe, a new theme park where you'll step through extraordinary portals to 5 immersive worlds. Prepare for a cosmic voyage of discovery, an isle of fire-breathing excitement, a shadowy world of monsters and mystery, new wonders in the wizarding world, and a new way to play. Plus the splendor of a magnificent resort hotel overlooking the park. It's all new excitement at Universal Orlando Resort. A week's worth of vacation thrills with 4 amazing theme parks, a variety of spectacular themed hotels, and incredible dining and entertainment. It's all at Universal Orlando Resort, where you'll find new adventures every day. Explore the astonishing worlds of Universal Epic Universe at Universal Orlando Resort.
Well, hello to you, and you. Welcome into another edition, Braylon's Virtual Tour Live. Glad to have all you here. So listen, this is going to be a grown conversation, okay? So I'm going to need everybody to either come right or don't come right at all, okay? I say that with love. I truly do. Because what we're going to talk about tonight is a really important conversation. I'm trying to find the thumbnail that I did a while back. Really shouldn't be that long ago. Give me a moment here as I load that picture up. Yep, it's coming up here. Where is it? I know I had it here. Oh, there it is. There it is. I'm looking for it. Nope, no, not you. Not you, child, not you. Just had it. There we go. That's the one. Okay. As that one is opening up, higher is waiting, low is available. But either way, we are live on tour. Let me take out this iconic intro here. You see that virtual tour background. Yes, you do. You hear that virtual tour music. Yes, you do. And then there is me. Hey, everybody. Welcome in. Glad to have you here. So 3 weeks ago, I did a Stay of Black Media Town Hall with this thumbnail, right? Let me take down this banner. So I said, the Stay of Black Media is changing. Are we being culturally appropriated for what we can do or culturally appreciated for who we are? So the Stay of Black Media right now, from all the big players, Disney has no black network. NBC Universal. Hey, TKO2890 Roblox player. Good to see you, my friend. I hope all is well with you. NBC Universal. I'm going to take your comment down just so I can read all of it, but it's all love. Thank you for being here. NBC Universal, no black network, but black people watch Bravo. Warner Bros. Discovery is the Oprah Winfrey Network. Fox has Fox Soul. Nexstar Media Group Incorporated, which owns the CW, does not have a black network. And then Paramount has BET, Black Entertainment Television. So did that 3 weeks ago, right? And as I told y'all, NBC Universal was teeter-tottering on what to do with their cable networks, right? So that's USA Network, Sci-Fi, Oxygen, the E Network, the Golf Channel, Sports Pass, Golf Pass, Sports Next, Rotten Tomatoes, Fandango. So they spun those companies off into a company called Versant. And those cable companies could be sold to other, platforms. They could combine with other cable networks. But Bravo stayed. Bravo could have been a part of the spinoff company, but NBC Universal saw the value of Bravo and how it connected to Peacock. So then I was ahead of NBC News, the news organization, and the Today Show of covering their own news. And then Warner Bros. Discovery started to talk about spinning off the networks. And so as I'm getting ready for the tour this morning, you guys happen to see, well, this video came a little bit later, right? Let me put the band back up. So this video came a little bit later, but it says that $40 billion shark is circling hard. The chum of non-existent creativity is in the water. Now, of course, if you know Discovery, you know that they are known for Shark Week. Okay, I use a lot of media references over here. Pay attention to our channel quite often. So this morning, I see the news on my Facebook feed 2 minutes. That's where it came out. 2 minutes ago when I saw it this morning, that Warner Bros. Discovery has announced that they were separating the linear cable networks from the studios and the streamers. So basically, OWN, HGTV, TLC, all the networks that you know and love are now being separated from Warner Brothers, the movie studio, TV studio, Warner Bros. Television, and HBO Max, right? So with that being said, let's get to it because we do have a lot to get to. Let me pull this up here. And I'm gonna dog walk this for y'all. And it's gonna be a long one. So grab your grab some wings, whether that's your woman's, thick thighs or some actual wings. Get ready for a good time tonight. I want to do something first, though. I want to set up the scene for you all. So, from the Hollywood Report, it's not you, it's WB. A brief history of Warner's 21st century mergers and breakups. The impending split of Warner Bros. Discovery will be the third undone major for the media giant since 2009. So I am giving you the foundation, so then you'll be able to understand the rooms of the house, okay, that we're in, okay? So the history of Warner Brothers is a history of mergers and sales dating back to a sneaky transaction Jack Warner pulled off in the 1950s to become the studio's largest shareholder. Following that, there was a brief Warner Brothers 7 Arts era in the 1960s. the studio sequential acquisition by Kenny Natural Services, which bought longtime CEO Steve Ross into the company and renaming it as Time Warner Communications. The 1989 merger with Time Incorporated, Time Magazine, to create Time Warner, which several years later scooped up Turner Broadcasting. So 21st Century, though, has been especially frantic time for the company, with 2 and soon to be 3 after Warner Bros. Discovery announced a split of the company Monday. Mergers and sequential breakups as the studio changed hands. Here's a look at the transactional roller coaster of the past 25 years. So AOL, Time Warner. Now, for those of you who are on the East Coast, you may remember Time Warner Cable and AOL.com. You got mail. You guys remember Net Zero, NetSpeed, and AOL. When you had the disc, you had to, do a CD-ROM, and that's how you got the internet. So right here, on January 10th, 2000, the then biggest internet service provider in the United States and Time Warner announced their intent to combine in what was the largest corporate merger in U.S. history at the time. AOL envisioned Time Warner Cable Systems, which were still under their namesake parents' control at the time, as helping to speed the push into the fairly new broadband internet market, while Time Warner saw a radical new way to help distribute its movies, TV shows, and publications. This is a defining event for Time Warner America Online, as well as a pivotal moment for the unfolding of the internet age. Time Warner President Richard Parsons said in a press release at the time, "Why fell apart? Oh, so many reasons. For stars, in the year between the announcement when the merger was finalized, the dot-com bubble popped, sending shares of internet companies, even those that, like AOL, were making money, tumbling. 18 months after the combined company started trading, its share price had fallen by 80%, leading to several lawsuits by Time Warner shareholders who claimed AOL executives had fraudulently inflated the value of the company's pre-merger. Wildly divergent corporate cultures did help either. The hope for synergies never materialized as AOL lost its dominance in the market for internet service. So as Comcast, as AT&T, Verizon really wasn't around as of yet. And I remember this because there was a wireless cell phone company called Alltel that was based in Little Rock, Arkansas. If you go to Little Rock, Arkansas, and you go to a concert, you will go to it at the Simmons Bank Arena. Just know, real Arkansans do not call it that. They call it the Alltel Arena, or the Small Tel Arena, because that cell phone company was based and founded in Little Rock, Arkansas. So, Verizon bought Alltel out, and then it came from there, right? So, in 2003, AOL, Time Warner, quietly dropped the AOL part of its name. In 2009, it spun AOL off into its own company, which was subsequently bought by Verizon in 2015. AOL is now part of the private equity-owned Yahoo! It was a good idea, but the execution of it wasn't what it needed to be. I accept responsibility for that, AOL co-founder Steve Case, one of the architects of the merger, told the New York Times in 2010. Now, this was a thing, okay? So AT&T and Warner Media, which is Turner Broadcasting and TNT and TBS and all the networks, right? So, like AOL and, Time Warner thought that, okay, well, guess what? We have all these TV shows and stuff. If we partner up with the biggest internet provider, then guess what? We can put our content quicker, better, stronger than Disney, which had the .go website, bigger than Paramount, and, others, right? So it evolved a lot from 2018 to 2021. AT&T and Time Warner Media, like I said, I'm giving you a foundation of the house so you can understand the rooms that we're about to go into. So Warner Media thought, okay, well, since AT&T has Uverse TV, since they have internet, since they have cell phone service, there you go. And Verizon also thought this too, because Verizon had Vcast for a very long time. And then it was this weird thing called Go 90, where you flipped your phone 90 degrees, you were able to see content, but it failed to no avail. Why it happened after letting go of AOL, Time Warner then spun off the Time part of its business in 2014, creating a new company for its publishing assets, though it kept the Time Warner name. 2 years later, AT&T expressed in buying Time Warner, following the lead of fellow cable and broadband provider Comcast, which had purchased NBC Universal several years later. The deal, which was renamed company Warner Media, finally went through in 2018 after several challenges from the federal government in the first 47 administration. Why it fell apart? Market reaction to the deal was never especially positive, partially because a lot of analysts deemed AT&T's $85.4 billion acquisition as an overpay, and partially because of the heavy assumption of debt in the combined company. As Warner Media entered the streaming fray with the launch of the once and future HBO Max, losses on that side of the business piled up. The COVID-19 pandemic further depressed business. Several corporate restructurings led to big rounds of layoffs, and was the case with the AOL merger. The two companies had very different cultures that never really meshed. In 2021, AT&T threw in the towel, which led to Warner Bros. Discovery, right? So AT&T has no parts of Warner Media, okay? None whatsoever. So that's on that. Just wanted to give you the background on that, okay? Because I always say, if you understand the moves that are happening around you, you understand what you're seeing in front of you. But some people are just born stupid. What? Did I offend you? Are you big mad? Are your sensibilities broken? I don't give a fuck. Okay? All right. Warner Bros. Discovery 2022 to 2026. And by the way, if that statement didn't apply to you, let it fly. But if you let it fly, it must apply. With AT&T washing its hands of Warner Media, Discovery Incorporated CEO David Zaslav reached out to his counterpart at AT&T, John Stankey, about a possible deal. After several months of behind-the-scenes negotiations, the two companies made official in May of 2021, announcing plans to merge. The deal was completed in April of 2022, combined the Warner Brothers film and TV studio assets, HBO and the Turner cable networks and HBO Max, with Discovery's cable portfolio and its own streaming service, Discovery Plus. Now, there was a point in time where the Discovery Plus program was going to go on HBO Max, but David Zaslav was really smart and recognized, okay, this is the only non-fiction, unscripted streamer in the market. So it's more of a niche streamer, but people still use it. Plus a number of localized outlets in countries around the world. The deal was done through an all-stock transaction called a reverse mortgage trust, and the combined company took on the name Warner Brothers Discovery. Why it's falling apart? Oh, hey, culture clash, rather. Zaslav, a longtime cable TV hand who has been Discovery CEO since 2006, built that company on a wide array of unscripted programs, which it produced at scale relatively inexpensively. That, to say the least, is not how the likes of HBO and Warner Bros. Pictures were accustomed to operate. That led to a clash. That clash led to things like scrapping a completed Batgirl movie as a tax write-off, the unbrand of HBO Max as Max, and then rebranding as HBO Max later this year, and the decision to walk away from a long-time relationship with the NBA despite suing the league and claiming it wasn't allowed to exercise its right to match offers of Disney, NBC Universal, Amazon. Of course, there were other reasons, among them a massive amount of debt. Currently at $37 billion. It was at $40 billion, but they paid about $19 billion down. A slow path to profitability for Max, hundreds of more layoffs. The most recent round coming just a few days before Monday's announcement that the company is splitting up. Zaslav will lead the streaming and studios business, including HBO Max. After the break, the current Warner Bros. Discovery CFO, Gunnar Winfrey will become CEO of the global networks company, which incidentally will take on the bulk of that $37 billion for debt. So basically, the debt that is in the combined company, Zaslav will not have any debt with what he's running. So now that $37 billion worth of debt is going to all the cable networks. And when you're in debt, what do? You make cuts, Whichever networks are profitable, those stay. Whichever networks are not profitable, they go. Okay, so now that you understand the foundation of the house, let's get into the rooms. Here we go from Variety.com here. Warner Bros. Discovery to split into two companies here. Warner Bros. Discovery, grappling with declines in its overall business, said Monday it planned to divide the company into two publicly traded entities, one devoted to streaming and content production and one devoted to traditional television. Warner Bros. Discovery CEO David Zaslav will remain the leader of the streaming-focused entity, while Gunnar Wanderfels, the company's CFO, who has been known for finding new ways to cut costs, will be leading the TV company. The separation is expected to be completed by mid-2026, subject to closing and other conditions. And the bulk of the current company's debt, nearly $36 billion, will be assigned to the TV entity. So now, in order to pay off that $38 billion, like I said, they're going to have to figure out which networks are going to stay and which networks are going to go. Now, a little bit later on this live, I'm going to go to the media mind map of my man, Evan Shapiro. And also, too, I'm going to show you the TV networks. I'm going to show you which ones I believe are going to stay, which ones could go. By operating as two distinct and optimized companies in the future, we are empowering these iconic brands with the sharper focus and strategic flexibility they need to compete most effectively in today's evolving media landscape, Zaslav said in a statement. The company is emulating a strategy recently put into place by Comcast. That conglomerate is breaking up NBC Universal with plans to place the bulk of its cable networks into a publicly traded spinoff called Versant, while keeping its broadcast and streaming assets under the bare-known entity NBC. So NBC, Peacock, and Bravo will be under NBC. Warner has had to contend with many obstacles since being formed by the combination of AT&T's Warner Media. AT&T does not own anything of Warner Media. Okay? Not a thing. Okay. The company, once known as Time Warner and the former Discovery Communications, under Zaslav, Warner has fiddled with streaming strategies and deprived top cable networks of TNT and TBS of the original content they needed to flourish. Warner recently lost long-held rights to televise NBA games, a contract that gave its networks a major sporting franchise that drew crowds on the regular, and it's written down the value of its cable properties. Warner has recently appeared to find some rhythm. The Max service has developed solid audiences for programs including The Pit and White Lotus, and the company has recently articulated a strategy of targeting audiences interested in premium content rather than a broader crowd, and Warner has struck new distribution deals with cable and satellite companies that call for what are seen internally as favorable terms despite the losses of the NBA. The streaming company will encompass the Warner TV and movie studios, HBO and HBO Max, and a games and experiences division. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, because yes, theme parks are in play, ladies and gentlemen, but we will get to that. The company will focus on building out the HBO Max streaming service and investing in program. Meanwhile, the TV company will include Warner's TV networks around the world, along with specific digital brands tied to the TV entities, including Discovery Plus, Bleacher Report, and CNN's new streaming products. Warner's move is likely to spur speculation about potential consolidation, mergers, and acquisitions in the media sector. Part of the strategy behind Comcast Versant is its ability to do deals. Paramount Global owner CBS is also under financial pressure and may have to consider new rounds of cost cutting if they cannot consummate a deal it has in place to be acquired by Skydance Media. So we covered the Skydance Media deal here on Braylon's Virtual Tour Live. So all the intel you need, just type in Skydance, click it, you're there. So that is still trying to weed its way through to finally be cleared, right? And BET was up for sale for $3 billion. Tyler Perry put a bid of $2 billion. Byron Allen put a bid of $3 billion. Then I think it was Kenya Burris, 50 Cent, Shaquille O'Neal. I'm trying to think who else. There was a group called Group Black. They tried to also get to it, but Paramount Global still has not sold BET, but they will eventually have to sell BET because they're in $14.9 billion worth of debt. Okay, so back to this map here. of the black networks, as you can see. So that's the state of black media, and this is where we are here. Okay, take that down. During an investor call Monday, executives suggested the two companies might continue to be aligned. Ad sales may represent both sides of the split, executives said, and sports, while being placed with the TV company, will likely continue to stream on Max for the foreseeable future, though those plans could change as the two companies plot their own strategies in the future. The U.S. sports rights will reside at the global networks, and its management team will determine how to best monetize the streaming and digital rights over time, Winterfield said. So, like I said, sports rights, the NFL, I think it's about $1 billion for rights, right? So that's why YouTube, Google, Alphabet got the consumer rights to NFL Sunday Ticket, but yet TV still has the bars and restaurant contract of NFL Sunday Ticket. Because, like I said, there's different ways to skin a cat, as my mom would say, right? So, but that's not all. Warner Bros. Discovery makes layoffs across cable TV, from Variety. Warner Bros. Discovery, as its cable TV business continues to shrink and viewership falls, has made targeted job cuts across its linear networks. The media conglomerate's linear TV business includes TNT, TBS, CNN, Food Network, Discovery, TLC, Cartoon Network, Turner Classic Movies, and the Oprah Winfrey Network as well. The layoffs affect well under 100 employees. A source familiar with the situation told Variety. The source added that no particular location or network was more impacted than others. The cuts, like those of other pay TV networks affected by cord cutting declines, are aimed at Warner Bros. Discovery's ongoing goal of operating more efficiently. The world of layoffs in the Warner Bros. Discovery Cable Group comes after Disney cuts its headcount by several hundred employees this week, affecting staffers in TV, film, and corporate finance, and also some marketing teams. Will also either consolidate, or some of the marketing people were fired or let go. For the first quarter 2025, revenue in Warner Bros. Discovery global linear TV networks business fell 7% to $4.7 billion. Ad revenue fell 12%, while distribution revenue was off by 9%. The company cited declines in audiences at its networks for the downturns of quarter one. Adjusting operating income for the cable group fell 15% year over year to $1.79 billion. Last month, S&P Global Ratings cut Warner Bros. Discovery's credit rating to junk status. Last month, S&P Global Ratings cut Warner Bros. Discovery credit rating to junk status. Last month, S&P Global Ratings cut Warner Bros. Discovery credit rating to junk status. So, like I said this morning, that would be like if you had a 800 credit score and then you got down 600. That's basically what that is, right? So, back to this here. Based on the firm's lower earnings forecast for 2025-2026, primarily due to the continued revenue and cash flow declines at its linear TV operations. In quarter one, Warner Bros. Discovery said it completed the process of reorganizing the company into two divisions, one comprising its streaming business plus HBO and production studios, the other composed of the rest of its cable TV portfolio. The reorganization will create opportunities as we evaluate all avenues to deliver significant shareholder value. CEO David Slassoff said in originally announced the separation last December. We covered that here on Braylon Lee Live. In the second quarter of 2024, Warner Bros. Discovery took a $9.1 billion charge against earnings related to the devaluation of the company's TV networks. Separately, at this year's annual stockholders meeting, Warner Bros. Discovery investors delivered a symbolic shot across the bow. Shareholders voted down a non-binding advisory measure to approve the 2024 pay packages. Slassoff's compensation last year totaled $51.9 million, up 4.4%, and the company's other named executive officers. After the vote, the Warner Brothers Discovery Board said in a statement that it takes the results of its annual advisory note on executive compensation seriously, and that the board's compensation committee looks forward to continuing its regular practice of engaging in constructive dialogue with our shareholders. So, pretty much all that means is that the shareholders determine the CEO's salary, right? Or they at least have a say so, and then it goes to final approval. And based on the ad revenue that the networks are getting determines the rise or demise of that CEO. And based on the popularity of the shows, that social capital that we create here on YouTube and other places determines the financial capital of if other venture capitalists want to invest in the company or not, basically. Holy, like I said, we do have a lot to get to, ladies and gentlemen. So, from Variety, after the latest Warner Bros. Discovery shakeup, David Zaslav's legacy looks insecure. The ongoing back and forth over the future of HBO and its parent company, Warner Bros. Discovery, calls to mind a line from one of the network's great recent series, The Business Magnate Logan Roy telling his squabbling children, "You are not serious people." The longtime industry leader in prestige TV, HBO, has lately seemed endlessly reactive and panicky, chasing other successes rather than leaning into its own. Last month, the channel's streaming arm changed its name back to HBO Max, reclaiming branding that it had shed less than 2 years before. Now the merger that created Warner Bros. Discovery is being effectively undone, with HBO and the rechristened HBO Max joining Warner Bros. Discovery TV and film studios and various other lucrative properties on one island, and the flailing cable networks like CNN, TNT, and the Discovery suite of channels on a less hospitable one. That includes the Oprah Winfrey Network as well. What was intended to be a synergistic company where the success of cable chieftain David Zaslav, who led Warner Bros. Discovery after fine success at Discovery, is ending in an unwinding and a retreat. Zaslav declared that the move is intended as a way of empowering these iconic brands with the sharper focus and strategic flexibility they need to compete most effectively in today's evolving media landscape. And Warner Bros. Discovery is hardly alone in breaking up its offerings. The move echoes a recent one by Comcast, whose spinoff Spinco contains the less strategically crucial of its cable brands. What's striking, though, about Zaslav's leadership is a certain endless volition to be HBO Max or Max, to bring together a bunch of entertainment brands under one roof, or to toss the ones that no longer serve the mission, whatever mission they may be at this moment. In this light, the HBO Max name change can look like an attempt to tether together a streamer and the network ahead of a spinoff. But both the name change and spinoff came out as out of the blue surprises. Not to this guy. This speaks to a certain move fast quality of leadership that has not to this point served well a brand built around the care and deliberateness with which it treats its creators. From an optics perspective, it can strain credulity that Zaslav's actions are entirely built around maximizing shareholder value, as his pay package last year, a year during which Warner Bros. Discovery lost some 100, child. Sorry. I almost said that with my whole chest, though. $11.5 billion. I mentioned that they have $40 billion worth of debt. Now it's about $34 billion. But Warner Bros. Discovery lost $11.5 billion. Exceeded $50 million in a symbolic gesture. A majority of the corporation's board voted against approving said pay package. Even those who politics fall to the right of eat the rich types can pick up a sense of Zaslav is being allowed to squeeze Warner Bros. Discovery for all it's worth. Much has been written about this CEO's particular leadership style. It's striking, though, how little boss who came up in the lowbrow world of unscripted TV seems to understand or care how neatly he fits into a reality TV grade archetype, the rich, clumsy villain. In the midst of the chaos surrounding them, HBO and its streamer moved from strength to strength between The Last of Us and White Lotus on linear television on HBO there, and The Pit and Hacks on streaming HBO Max. The brand has just this year no fewer than 4 zeitgeist hits that are set to define the contours of the upcoming Emmy race. They speak to a certain quality that has traditionally been unique to HBO and key to success, consistency. If you're not into the current Sunday night slate, the thinking goes, don't cancel your subscription. The brand is strong enough that the next rotation will have something worth your while. Endless corporate dramas aren't likely to trickle down to the attention of the average viewer, though. But in a sense that the marquee brand of contemporary TV is in unsteady hands isn't what a typical CEO might hope to protect, either to competitors or to the creative community. HBO is a serious brand with a serious history. One whose latest chapter involves its prevailing somehow despite being run in an unserious fashion. TV fans should hope that this great luck can continue, or maybe that's a month, or maybe a month can pass without news and Slav will change his mind once more. So basically, David Zaslav kind of goes where he wants to with the wind, with HBO Max. I mean, they had HBO Max, and they dropped the HBO and just left it Max. Now it's back to HBO. And the reason why I say is the Oprah Winfrey Network up for sale is because this deal was made while Oprah Winfrey still had her talk show. So while she had her talk show, she also was creating a network at the same time. And so Zaslav and Oprah Winfrey were tight. Don't know how tight they are now because we don't really see them out like that. I don't think Oprah was even at the upfront for Warner Bros. Discovery this year or any year for that matter, right? So yeah. Let's see here. Right here from Variety.com. Did David Zaslav's grand vision fail as Warner Bros. Discovery and other media giants move pieces around? They can't outrun the cable math. 4 years ago, David Zaslav insisted that Discovery Communications, together with what was then called Warner Media, was more than the sum of its parts. They have formidable lineup of global assets, he said. When you put us together, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Game of Thrones, Sex and the City, HBO and Discovery being everywhere in the world with local content would bear together, Zaslav said in 2021, explaining the logic behind combining Discovery and Warner Media, then owned by AT&T. Fast forward to today, the math has changed. Zaslav has now reversed course, announcing that Warner Bros. Discovery will proceed to dismantle the amalgamation of different businesses he has assembled under one roof. In short, that formidable combination has been weighted down by declining revenue, viewership, and profits across Warner Bros. Discovery's collection of linear TV portfolio. As announced Monday, Warner Bros. Discovery will break apart like this. The Warner Brothers Film and TV Studio, HBO Max, and HBO Games and Experiences division will be one discrete entity led by Zaslav, and a new company will house CNN, TNT, TBS, Discovery Food Network, HGTV, Oprah Winfrey Network, and a raft of other channels with roots in linear cable, in addition to Discovery Plus and Bleacher Report. In something of a surprise, Zaslav is tapping his cost-cutting right-hand man, CFO, Chief Financial Officer Gunnar Winterfels, to head the yet unnamed cable TV spinoff. Wall Street seemed to like Zaslav's decision, at least in the morning hours of Monday. Warner Bros. Discovery shares have been trading at under $10 since early April. Monday's news drove a 7% spike out the gate after closing at $9.82 on Friday, but since then the price has drifted down and raced those gains with the stock in the negative territory. To be sure, the issues buffeting the media and entertainment industry are larger than just Warner Bros. Discovery and Zaslav. In February, in Variety's cover story on Comcast planned to spin off most of its NBC Universal cable channels into a separate traded entity. We promised readers in cover line it won't be the last. Warner Bros. Discovery proved us right early Monday with news that it will cleave the company into two parts. Warner Bros. Discovery is motivated by the same pressures that led Comcast be the first of the majors to take the leap in divesting their cable assets, separating the Warner Bros. Studio operations at HBO Max from linear cable channels will help shield those assets from cable's problems, but it will also put more pressure on Warner Brothers Film and TV arms to deliver the goods and the profits. The key takeaway: media giants can move assets around their balance sheet. Warner Bros. Discovery for one, has been in restructuring mode for 3 solid years, but at some point, the earnings math will catch up to them. For Slazoff, there won't be much room to hide on the earnings report if the cable division's cash flow is removed. For now, cable TV channels still generate the reliable cash flow that conglomerates like Warner Bros. Discovery and NBC Universal have come to rely on. Long term, it's a melting ice cube as ad revenue affiliate fee strength in the coming years, along with the traditional subscriber base for traditional cable. The cable untethering will come at a price for the industry, which is already feeling the pain of mass layoffs. The high profit margin churned out for a solid 30 years, let's call it from 1985 to 2015, by cable channels was the primary engine of media and entertainment empire building. Streaming platforms a la HBO Max and NBC Universal Peacock are growing, but in no way positioned to deliver the dual revenue stream dollars generated by USA Network, Sci-Fi, E, and Oxygen when those NBC Universal channels were in their late aughts prime. When NBC Universal first unveiled its spinoff plan in November 2024, Comcast leaders Brian Roberts and Mike Cavanaugh emphasized the standalone group of channels the company has since adopted the non-conversant would have more flexibility to make acquisitions or become an acquisition target. There's been chatter about great roll-up of linear cable channels on the theory that there might be buyers that will look to scoop up market share even in a declining sector. But if there's a wave of momentum for such cable TV deals, Wall Street and bankers have been behind it. Well, it may be that merger acquisition activity that would otherwise be ongoing have been scared off for now by the macroeconomic turbulence spurred by President 47 aggressive moves with tariffs and other policy moves. Slazoff has spent most of his career at cable TV land. After joining NBC in 1989, he helped launch CNBC and MSNBC. Oh, I did not know that. But he moved to Discovery in 2006. Now Slazoff has decided that Warner Bros. Discovery's future lies in streaming and HBO, along with the production studios that pump TV shows and movies into the streaming ecosystem. And Slazoff has spun the old-fashioned cable channels on their own life raft to sink or swim on their own. Yeah. Now, I want to read some comments here from Deadline.com. Now, like I said, to me, I truly feel that Warner Bros. Discovery is going to have a very interesting time in literally sitting down in the boardroom, figure out, okay, this network, that network. So with that being said, let me get down here to the comments here. Has there ever been a studio heads widely and correctly hated as Slazoff? He said everything wrong with current climate. Years from now, we'll realize that we've actually gave him too much credit. Clearly, only in it for himself and shop parties make Chapek look like a visionary. Faster than anticipated decline of linear television. Really, I knew cable and broadcast were doing when Netflix started streaming. It was so obviously superior to cable if you didn't care about sports, and half the audience doesn't. That was 18 years ago. If you asked me back then whether cable broadcast would still exist in 2025 or what, this is like the world's slowest train wreck. Boy, you clearly don't live in LA. Nobody has any idea what's going on with anything. Everyone is in denial, keeping themselves distracted with relentless whining about politics. If they truly think that if they just hold out enough, something will save them and everything will eventually go back to 2018. That's fucked up. So Slazoff has destroyed Warner Bros. Discovery only made himself rich. Does he have any idea how out of depth and misguided he is? You have sat too long here, rather, for any good you have been doing. Depart, I say, let us have done with you. In God's name, go. He's a Neville Chamberlain come back to life. Oh Lord, Slazoff is an idiot, and Discovery's purchase of Warner Bros. Should have never been approved. Slazoff takes out loans by Warner Bros. Slazoff sells the new Warner Bros. Discovery with the bill for buying Warner Bros. Then he does things like sell the CW. Because the CW was owned by CBS, which is now Paramount, and Warner Bros. That's the CW, and reduces the number of WB TV produced TV shows on the air, fires the HBO documentary department because TLC people are responsible for Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, 90 Day Fiance can do it. Cancel shows like Westworld, stop releasing movies like Batgirl, Looney Tunes, Kyle versus Acme for tax write-offs. The merger has not been good for anybody, not the shareholders, not Warner Bros. Discovery employees, not for the Warner-owned channel, just Laszloff, whose yearly income has more than tripled. Thank you. One of his moves I especially liked was when they decided to change the created by credit on series creators, then list a bunch of the ATL, the WGA loved it. Oops, that was a mistake. Somebody did clear or something like that. Bush League. Laszloff clearly has no idea how to make money. He had thousands of IP at his fingertips. He had no idea what to do with it. That's a smart leader for a company right there, guys. So those are just some of the comments. There's 63 comments, okay? But from these comments here, a lot of them are seeming like the intellectual property that Warner Bros. Discovery has, they are laid to the wayside. Now, I said what should have happened for Warner Bros. Discovery is on HGTV. All of them should have had a studio that would produce exclusive content for HBO Max, and then for it to be, pitched to the other streamers. And then you would have income from all the cable networks and then from all those studios. Just saying. So, speaking of having a lot of intellectual property, one of the big stories that happened today. Let's see if I can get this here. All right. Come on. There we go. Okay. So one of the biggest things that happened today was this. Disney closes Hulu deal with Comcast, paying billions less than NBC Universal was seeking. Disney will pay $438.7 million to Comcast for the remaining value of NBC Universal's 1/3 stake in streamer for a total cost of $9 billion. After more than 2 years of haggling, Disney has finally closed this deal with Comcast to buy out NBC Universal's 1/3 stake in Hulu, and Disney is paying much less than it would have if NBC Universal had its druthers. In December 2023, an initial payout toward the Hulu buyout, Disney agreed to pay $8.61 billion to Comcast, that represented the 1/3 of the $27.5 billion guaranteed floor value for Hulu that was set when the companies entered into their agreement in 2019. The two sides last year have entered into arbitration to determine the final price tag. Now that number has been calculated pursuant to the contractual appraisal process that was completed on June 9th, 2025. An additional $438.7 million is payable by Disney to purchase to NBC Universal to purchase NBC Universal's interest in Hulu, according to a Disney Security Exchange Commission filing Monday. The acquisition of NBC Universal's interest in Hulu will close on or before July 24th, 2025, per the filing. The total price Disney will have paid for Hulu is approximately $9 billion, implying an valuation of $27 billion overall for the streaming company. That's how much Hulu is worth as a streaming company by itself. If the price had been determined by the bank hired by Comcast to assess the value of Hulu's stake, that will result in an additional $5 billion payable by Disney. We are pleased that this is finally resolved. We have had a productive partnership with NBC Universal. We wish them the best of luck. Disney CEO Bob Iger said in a statement completing the Hulu acquisition paves the way for deeper, more seamless integration of Hulu's general entertainment content with Disney Plus, and soon with ESPN direct-to-consumer DTC product on providing our rival value proposition for consumers. And don't forget, Hulu plus Live TV is going to be folded into Fubo, because you remember Venue Sports, which was going to be Fox, it's going to be Disney, and it was going to be Paramount, right? So it's going to be a sports streamer, but Fubo said, hold up, we're the sports streamer, this is getting on in our territory. So then Disney folded Hulu plus Live TV into Fubo, which will expand Hulu plus Live TV in Spain, Europe, and trying to think. Hulu plus 5G. Spain. Yeah, I think it's going to be in Spain, Europe, and more of the. It's like one more I know. Let's see. Fubo. So it's going to be available in Canada, Spain, and the US. So Hulu is expanding through that. So just want to add that there. A Comcast spokesperson said in a statement, Hulu was a great start for us in streaming that generated nearly $10 billion in proceeds for Comcast and created important audience for NBC Universal's world-class content. Wish Disney well with Hulu and appreciate the cooperative way our teams have managed the partnership. Formed in 2007, Hulu was born as a joint venture between NBC Universal and Fox. Yeah, so this was Legacy's media answer to Netflix, okay? But it looks like it was also initially to fight against YouTube. Disney later acquired a piece of the company along with others. In 2019, Disney has secured 2/3 of ownership of Hulu after it acquired the entertainment assets of 21st Century Fox for $71 billion, and AT&T sold Warner Media's 10% stake back to the remaining Hulu shareholders. Disney was looking for a path to own 100% of Hulu in talks with Comcast. In May 2019, the company unveiled a deal under which Disney assumed full operational control of Hulu. At the time, Comcast had agreed to sell a stake in Hulu within 5 years. In May of 2024, Disney and NBC Universal entered into a confidential arbitration to resolve the dispute over the appraisal process to determine the fair value of Hulu, in which the parties seek declaratory relief, equitable relief, and unspecified damages, according to an earlier Disney regulatory filing. Per the company's agreement, the two sides' evaluations were not within 10% of each other. The banks they enlisted for the transaction would make a third firm to make another estimate. Hulu's final valuation would be the leverage of the two figures that are closest to each other. Unsurprisingly, the valuations arrived at by Disney and Comcast camps were very different. During the initial phase of the appraisal process, Disney's appraiser arrived at a valuation below the guaranteed floor value, while NBC Universal's appraiser arrived at a valuation substantially in excess of the guaranteed floor value. So one overshot, other one undershot, basically. According to Disney's filing, the final equity fair value takes into account the evaluation that third party appraiser has noted by Disney's July filing. So I want to bring this in because we're talking about HBO Max, right? And so now all the streamers are now separated, right? Now, could there be programming that could be licensed out on all the different streamers? Sure, it could. But the fact that now HBO Max is just Warner Bros. Discovery, the fact that Disney has 100% control of Hulu is huge. The fact that Peacock is owned by NBC Universal, now everybody is back in their camps. But if you notice, though, for example, there is a Disney plus HBO Max package, right? They've been bundling more streamers. I think there's like a HBO Max and Netflix package that you can pay $10 a month for if you have Verizon as well. So the fact that these companies are recognizing within consolidating that they are separating themselves is huge, because I think the industry really did not know how to handle streaming. So they're like, okay, let's just band together. The more we band together, the more we can defeat Netflix. But the problem is, when you join together your resources, those resources have to match Netflix or be better than Netflix. And so even though you have the sound stages, the sound third, Netflix can reduce its cost because they don't own a backlot. right? They don't have multiple companies now. They're getting into Netflix, bites, and that's at the MGM Grand and Netflix House, and they do pop-up events. And they got merchandise, so they're beginning to become a bit of, but still a streamer, right? So I just wanted to bring that in because now what that does is that it's going to force HBO Max to bring its A game, right? So right here, some comments here. They should just combine Hulu and Disney like they did in other countries and use the name Hulu for FX. Completely different content. Also, Hulu contains several content from several other non-Disney owned networks. So Fox does not have a streamer. Not yet. I think it's going to be Fox when it's going to come out. I think later this year. Comcast wanted $5 billion, but eventually got $400 million. LOL. Shows how much linear assets depreciate over that time. Did Bob ask his father in the White House if this was okay? Who was better as a standalone central broadcast and cable? Disney does not need to own this or much of what it now does. I'm a push back against Terrence because the thing with Disney is they have never been able to grow up with their content, right? As we'll see here in a minute. And I've always said this, Disney is known for kids nostalgia, and every other platform responds to grown-ups, right? So we'll get into that in just a minute here. From a cash standpoint, this is a great outcome for Disney, but from a valuation standpoint, however, bad sign for the value of their actual streaming portfolio. Why this evaluation is almost exactly like the $27.5 billion Disney's been saying all along. Comcast gets a little over $9 billion for its 1/3 share. This is going to pay all that money for Hulu just in time for global networks to person to kill off what's left of linear. That platform is going to be an albatross in 5 years, but then Bob will be long gone. Glancing at the Nielsen streaming charts, it's all Hulu on the acquired charts. Most of it is either old stuff or stuff someone else pays for. Not Disney. Hulu's a pure cash cow for them. That's why it's so stunning to watch Comcast fold like this. What are you doing, Comcast? Wasted money on this and Fubo, but campaign employees also donates to Israel and works with the CPP, then opens up a theme park in Abu Dhabi. Only this garbage human Zionist can do it. Bring the LA protest to him, not small shop owners. Should make no sense at all. Typical. Remember, the only one thing matters: stockholders. Nothing wrong with CCP or Israel, Abu Dhabi. It's money and all that, and that's all that matters. Go crawl under a rock. Now, like I said, there was a studio called Touchstone Pictures, right? And Touchstone Pictures were able to do, right? They were able to do adult pictures, right? Because Disney is known for Mickey, Donald, Goofy, Daisy, Pluto, the Fab Five. So if anything came from Disney, it had to be within that fantasy, magical, zippity-doo-dah, zippity-ay, my, oh my, what a wonderful day type of energy, right? So, with that being said, here is this person here. So, who is Gunnar Winterfeld, Warner Bros. Discovery cost-cutting finance executive picked as CEO of new TV network spinoff comprising of CNN, TBS, TNT, Discovery Plus, and more. Warner Bros. Discovery doesn't have a name for its planned standalone TV-centric biz, but it does have a proposed CEO, Gunnar Winterfeld. Warner Bros. Discovery's iron-fisted money manager as CFO, Chief Financial Officer at Warner Bros. Discovery. Winterfeld has been the face of the cost cut that has ensued since David Zaslav and the Discovery Gang took the reins of the merged Discovery Warner Media in Burbank in April 2022. As such, Winterfeld has been the focus of frustration among employees in his role as the instigator of the tightening and other massive changes, including a series of layoffs. Wow. So this guy is not liked already. Child. Yeah, this is gonna be something special. Yes, it is. Oh my God. And here's the thing, right? I believe that to find a CEO that has a business mind and a creative mind, it's a dime a dozen, right? Easier said than done. I think the best way to run a media company is you have a creative CEO and you have a financial CEO, right? So, for example, Michael Eisner and Frank Wells, God rest in peace to Frank Wells, he died in a ski accident. Michael Eisner had the big dreams, and Frank Wells had to figure out how to do it, just like Walt Disney and Roy Disney. Roy Disney was the brother of Walt Disney. Walt had the big dreams, and then Roy had to figure out the money. Indeed, the Compensation Committee of the Warner Bros. Discovery Board of Directors praised Winterfield's cost reduction prowess in explaining why the CFO deserved a $4.8 billion cash bonus for 2024. The executive delivered $1.8 billion in cost savings and integration synergies in 2024 while developing a pipeline for additional synergy capture in future years, the company said per the company's most recent proxy statement. Winterfield's 47 is a native of Germany who studied business informatics at the University of Mannheim and received a PhD from RWTH Aachen University. He started his career at McKinsey & Co. in Hamburg. In 2004-2009, he joined ProSieben Sat.1 Media SE in Munich, Germany, where he spent nearly 8 years in executive management roles, including as chief financial officer. In 2017, Winterfields made the move to New York to become the chief financial officer of Discovery Inc. under last law before becoming the chief financial officer of the merged Warner Bros. Discovery. In 2024, Winterfields had a compensation package showing $17.1 billion, flat with the year prior. That included a base salary of $2.1 million, stock awards worth $8.3 million, stock options valued at $1.75 million, $4.8 million, and a cash bonus under the long-term incentive plan, and $61,334 in other compensation, including $16,877 for the company's Olympics hospitality program, and $17,601 for the reimbursement of tax liabilities associated with the Olympics hospitality program. So, as you guys know, the Paris Olympics happened, but I think Warner Bros. Discovery also has some Olympic rights as well. But the Olympics are with NBC, right? So, according to Warner Bros. Discovery, Winterfields was a key architect of Warner Bros. Of Discovery's agreement with AT&T to create a premier standalone global entertainment company in Warner Bros. Discovery, and now Winterfields will be a key architect in dismantling the media conglomerate. The Warner Bros. Discovery global networks will largely comprise of Warner Bros. Discovery's U.S. general lifestyle content, including entertainment networks, including TNT, TBS, Turner Classic Movies, Oprah Winfrey Network, HGTV, Food Network, TLC, Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, Cartoon Network, and Adult Swim. It will house CNN, including the news network's forthcoming subscription streaming service. There was a thing called CNN Plus. It failed within the first month. So we'll see if CNN Plus again will rise. We'll have a rise or demise, rather, as well as Discovery Plus streaming service and TNT Sports U.S. operations, including League Report. Winterfields, in a statement Monday, said the new yet-to-be-named TV spinoff will now have the latitude to pursue important investment opportunities and potentially drive shareholder value after the split, expected to occur by mid-2026. Both legacy Warner Bros. Discovery and new media will be free and clear from mergers and acquisitions, he said. Winterfields outlined the goals for Warner Bros. Discovery cable TV spinoff company this way. At Global Networks, we will focus on further identifying innovative ways to work with distribution partners to create value for both linear and streaming viewers globally, while maximizing our network assets and driving free cash flow. He said in a press release. In the absence of mergers and acquisitions, can Warner Bros. Discovery Global Networks achieve growth on the top or bottom lines? In 2024, the company's networks segment generated $20.8 billion in revenue. Yeah, you see that, right? 20.8 billion, 18 billion rather. In revenue, down 4%. Adjusted earnings came in at $8.15 billion, down 10%. So as a whole, it still throws off tough cash, but in the lingo, Wall Street is drinking Ice Cube. Most of Warner Bros. Discovery's $34 billion of net debt. Now, it was at $40 billion worth of debt, but now it's at $34 billion worth of debt. It's paid it down $19 billion so far. As of the first quarter of 2025, will carry over to the TV company. In addition, Warner Bros. Discovery Global Networks will hold a 20% retained stake in the media company's streaming and studios business that it will plan to monetize in a tax-efficient manner to enhance the leveraging of its balance sheet, according to the Warner Bros. Discovery announcement. Because, guess what? Hopefully, those networks will have its own studios, and then guess what? The studios can produce shows for HBO Max and also do some movies for Warner Bros. Discovery, right? That at least that's what I'm thinking. So you know about him now. Sorry, y'all. And like I said, I see the time. If I gotta move it up to 10:30, it's all good because I definitely want to have this conversation with y'all. Like I said, I truly believe that what is to come from this is going to really determine the rise or demise of Warner Bros. Discovery. And it's the same thing with NBC Universal, right? So right here, Channing Dungey will remain with studios and streaming post Warner Bros. Discovery split. Few executives with dual responsibilities make for a clean break. One of Warner Bros. Discovery's top executives, Channing Dungey, who was at ABC, who is chairwoman and CEO of Warner Brothers Television Group and U.S. Networks, has found herself straddling two sides of the company that will become separate entities next year: streaming and studios and global networks. Preempting speculation about her future, Dungey addressed the matter in an internal memo soon after the Warner Bros. Discovery split was announced by Dave Bourne, sources tell Deadline. What's going on there? Oh, there we go. Okay. Right here. Okay. Warner Bros. Discovery will be a part of streaming and studios, and I'm thrilled I will continue to have the privilege of leading Warner Brothers Television Group, Dungey wrote in the memo. Deadline has learned. Dungey is the highest profile TV executive with dual responsibilities across the studio cable networks. One of her top lieutenants, Warner Bros. Television veteran Brett Paul, is in a similar position in his role as president of Warner Brothers Television Group and Chief Operating Officer of U.S. Networks. There is no clarity on his future as of now. Sources indicate Paul will also likely stay with studios and streaming as the chief deal maker for Warner Bros. TV, a key member of Dungey's senior team. Unlike Comcast spinoff cable networks and diversity, a split from NBC Universal has to untangle decades of shared history and close ties, and the Warner Bros. Discovery separation is a lot less complicated. Following Discovery's 2022 acquisition of Warner Media, all cable networks, including Warner Media's T-Nets, were put under Kathleen Finch, chairman and CEO of U.S. Networks, and a unit that's functioning largely independently from Warner Bros. TV, HBO, and streamer HBO Max. It was not until Finch announced her retirement at the end of last year that the line between divisions crossed. Dungey taking over Finch's role, and Paul added Chief Operating Officer for U.S. Networks to his duties of Warner Bros. Discovery TV president. There has been some joint program initiatives, including a run of the pit, Warner Bros. Discovery, Warner Brothers TV drama series from Max on TNT. It's unclear whether Dungey will get additional responsibilities as she continues her role as chairman, CEO, chairwoman of Warner Bros. Discovery TV Group post split, which is also a question for Paul. Should he also remain in his Warner Brothers TV group role as expected? So I wanted to bring that into the fold as well. Let me see what time we got. Okay, we're good on time. I'm trying to give y'all as much intel as I can with this. Because like I said, nobody else is going to cover it like me. And Believe me, nobody else will cover it. And I believe that you guys deserve to know what is going on here with this, because if there's anything to happen, right, if there's anything to happen with this, you guys deserve to know. So if you see like, oh my God, they're separating, OWN and OWN's getting sold, at least you know before everybody else does. So when everybody's losing their rabbit ass minds, if OWN gets sold, you'll be like, oh, Braylon talked about that already. This is why I do what I do. Because at the beginning, middle, end of the day, media is a industry we all consume, we all view, we all participate in. So let me read this story here. Okay. Okay, here we go with this one here. So I'm going to read some of this, not all of it. I'm just going to read the parts that I believe that you guys need to know as a viewer, right? Because the business stuff, you don't really care about, but you kind of need to know it. This is from the Wrap. When Warner Media and Discovery Inc. merged back in 2022, the rationale was that the combination would put the companies in a better position to compete against Netflix, Disney, and others that were diving headfirst into streaming and navigate what Warner Bros. Discovery CEO David Zaslav has repeatedly referred to as a general disruption of the entertainment industry. Right here. As both organizations contemplated their futures, one truth became clear: to successfully adapt, transform, and lead in the entertainment industry of tomorrow, we need to come together to draw on each other's strengths. Zaslav said in a memo to staff on Monday. While the work since that merger has been challenging at times, ultimately we have succeeded in strengthening each element of the business. Now, in the latest pivots, Zaslav and company has made what he called the bold choice to separate its global linear networks business from its streaming its studios business by mid-2026, which he said reflects the company's belief that each entity can now go further, faster apart than they can together as they look to unlock more value for its shareholders. So, while the move unlocks more strategic flexibility for Warner Bros. Discovery, separating its divisions into two publicly traded companies does not immediately solve the media giant's fundamental challenges. Continue to grow its share of streamer viewership and profitability, returning its studios business to profitability, managing the decline of its linear business, and continuing to pay down its heavy debt load. So, right here, executives have said that the streaming business is on track to generate at least $1.3 billion in profit by the end of 2025 and reach at least 150 million streaming subscribers by the end of 2026, which it plans to achieve through a combination of expanded max internationally, strategic distribution partnerships, and driving higher penetration of its ad-supported tier. And hopefully, because Disney owns Hulu, they'll be able to expand Hulu internationally. Now, I know that I talked about Hulu Plus Live TV with Fubo, but Hulu itself is only available in the U.S. And y'all need to change A&E networks to Hulu networks. Because guess what? All those networks that A&E owns, if it's Hulu networks, now there's more duality with, oh my God, guess what? You can watch Hulu as a cable network. Okay, Disney. Just giving my thoughts here. So as you can see, other 10.3%, cable 24.5%, broadcast 20.8%, 44.3% streaming. Okay, so as you can see here, YouTube is the dominant one here. Then right after that, Netflix, right? Then you have other streaming, 6.2%. That's Pluto. That's the Roku channel. That's Tubi. That's all the free advertising video on demand platforms. Then you got Disney at 5%, Prime Video 3.5, 2.4 Roku channel, 2.4 Paramount, 2.0 Tubi, 1.5 Warner Bros. Discovery, and then 1.4 Peacock. Now, there's supposed to be WBTV, which is their free TV service. That's supposed to be coming out soon. Disney does not have that. They stupidly got rid of the ABC app, which should have been their free TV service. They were making kind of the free TV app within abc.com, but to no avail. So you can still go on abc.com and watch, the free TV there, but the ABC app, they should not have gotten rid of it. But they're trying to get everybody on Disney Plus. It's just like Disney Plus is supposed to be for animation and wonder and fantasy and all that stuff, right? So just there. So additionally, Warner Bros. Discovery still faces roughly $37 billion of gross debt. During a call with investors on Monday, Chief Financial Officer Bernard Winterfeld, who will lead the separate linear networks business, said the majority of his debt will live with global networks, while smaller but not insignificant portion will remain with the streaming and studio businesses. So yes, indeed. Warner Bros. Discovery also secured a $17.5 billion bridge loan from JP Morgan to buy back a chunk of debt, with new debt that will be issued to pay that off after the official separation, and of course a 20% stake in the studios streaming business to help the company deleverage. So the Global Networks division will retain 20% stake in that. So Bloomberg Intelligence Gina Ruffin expressed the split to be a positive catalyst that will play up the value of the higher growth studio streaming units that will pave the way for mergers and acquisitions. Just going through here. Joyce argued that multiple structural moves across the industry are set up for multi-year rationalization and better industry efficiency evaluations, such as the launch of Versant, the pending merger between Disney's Hulu plus Live plus Fubo, which I told y'all about, Lionsgate's and Star separation, which we talked about that too, and then Paramount's pending Skydance media merger. So Lionsgate and Stars are two separate ones. We actually did a whole deep dive live on that, and we also covered Versant here. Like I said, I was ahead of NBC News and the Today Show with their news. And of course, Skydance Media covered that, and also to BET said. Can you tell I pay attention a lot? All right, here it is here, everybody. A clip from CNBC.
All right, let's talk about Warner Brothers Discovery, shall we? Of course, the company, as we told you on May 8th, it was, I think, the first time I'd sort of said the split was imminent. And, well, I'm not sure you want to define imminent, but they announced it this morning. They're splitting in two. You can see the reaction. We'll see what the stock does when it opens about 25 minutes from now. Two companies, again, as expected. There are a few things, though, that were not necessarily anticipated, and I'll get to them in a minute. But as for what you're going to be looking at if you're a Warner Brothers Discovery shareholder, well, you're going to get one share of a streaming and studios business comprised of Warner Brothers, their television, of course, and motion picture group. They're number one in terms of studio, in terms of TV. You also get HBO as a part of that, and you get the streaming service, HBO Max, most likely to become HBO at some point once they finally get rid of Max. You know, who needs Max? Global networks, sports, news, television brands, obviously all of the big cable networks. People know whether it's CNN, TNT, all the Discovery networks as well. You get over the air in Europe. A lot of sports there, here as well. Sports rights all will be with TNT. They've got that big market, I know, but it's worth a lot actually in Poland as well. Bleacher Report. So it's a split. And the question will be, of course, how's the market going to account for it? Is it going to accord a far higher multiple to the growth engine, namely streaming and the studio, which will have very little debt, is what I'm told, and what they're sort of forecasting of the $34 billion in total debt at the company, most of which will go to where the cash flow producing assets are, namely the global networks business. Currently levered overall, the company about 3.8 times. And this has been, guys, we've sat here, let's look at 3 years. It's over 3 years since they closed the deal. It's 4 years since it was announced. And it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. And in part because the decline of linear cable networks has been even worse than many of the pessimists might have imagined. And the cash flows associated with it have continued to go down. And when you have a large debt load, the investor base is simply going to be worried. And in this case, they were. Now, to that point, there is a component of this deal that was not necessarily something we had forecast, which is a very large tender that is going to be available to debt holders. They're going to borrow $17.5 billion in a bridge facility from J.P. Morgan. It will be replaced at some point when this is completed by a secured debt facility, but they're going to go out and make a bid for a lot of their debt. John Malone makes him very happy. Of course, he's been talking about this. A lot of it trades at significant discounts to its face value. They're going to offer it the same spread it was issued. And the hope is that a lot of debt holders are going to line up here, and you're going to be able to reduce your overall indebtedness by, it could be $3-4 billion overall dollars. That's significant when it comes to interest costs, when it comes to leverage, when it comes to a lot of things. And it's kind of coercive in part because, well, if you don't do it,
Pause. So remember I told y'all Hulu, Max, Disney Plus, and I can tell you the reason why this bundle is happening here is because Disney's known for the kids, right? Max has gotten rid of Sesame Street. Netflix has that now. That was a dumbass decision by HBO Max. They got rid of Cartoon Network, which was also a dumbass decision. But Disney Plus supplements the kids side, right? So now you got the kids side, and then you also, too, have White Lotus along with Hulu originals like Futurama and King of the Hill, right? So you have a little bit of everything within this bundle, and there are more companies that are starting to bundle like that. So while Hulu, Max, Disney Plus, Warner, Netflix may not be, joint anymore like they used to be in terms of, sharing content for the platforms, that does not mean that they are not bundling their platforms to be able to expand all their subscriber bases. It's almost like a content house. Content creators go in a house and they all create content, and hopefully a rising tide lifts all boats. It's the same thing with this.
If you aren't part of it, we're going to be getting a big secured facility that's going to be above you in the capital structure. You probably want to do this. So they're hoping and expecting that. If it doesn't happen, I'm still told they feel they are completely in the clear legally to do this, that the bondholders are not going to be able to jam them up. But we'll see. They'd rather that was not the case. Zaslav's going to run streaming in studios. Gunnar Wiedenfels, the current CFO of the company, going to run the company that's going to look a lot more like our future company, Versant, although a lot bigger.
The scale.
Yeah, it has more scale when it comes to cable. And obviously, as I said, over the air in Europe, a number of other businesses. But we've been talking about the declining cash flows here for a long time, Jim. And one question I think is, from investors is, why now? Now, Zaslav would say, because we weren't ready. We had to get streaming ready. We had to cut costs. We had to do a lot of different things. Now is the right time. But others might say, couldn't it have been a year ago? Why is this the right approach?
Would J.P. Morgan give them that bridge loan a year ago?
I don't know. I think so. They got downgraded to junk recently.
Yeah, I know. But David, Zaslav you have to tell people about this is a man with big ambitions who I think would like to put together the largest category winner.
Yes.
Is that not true?
I think, listen, when you look at both of these companies, the question will immediately be, all right, what consolidation opportunities are available to them? Right. I think streaming and studio, that business, certainly you could see the possibility of a Paramount streaming business or the Peacock business of NBC Universal. Do they want to be a part of this in some way? I don't know the answer, but that will certainly be part of the conjecture. Or is it possible that an Apple or an Amazon or a YouTube would ever want to just step up and say, will buy it all. Now, by the way, on that front, you get into regulatory questions too. And this is down the road.
But if you put
this
together,
deal has got no regulatory issues whatsoever.
If you put together a couple cable outlets so that the content is king, does that work?
I don't know.
Is that there? And, like I said, I think that, if you're not investing in content that people want to invest into, then you get what you get, right? So, and to be honest with you, cable is more lenient than broadcast, right? So, for broadcast, you have to give the studio what you're going to say. With cable, that's why there's so many unscripted shows, because cable, you can push the boundaries a little bit more. And with cable, there seems to be a looser energy in terms of personality, where broadcast, you have to come correct. So
Warner Brothers Discovery today climbing on the company's plan to separate into two companies, one for streaming and studios, another for cable, home to properties like CNN, TNT Sports, and others. Joining us this morning on the phone with his reaction, MoffettNathanson senior research analyst Robert Fishman. Robert, thanks for the time this morning. What strikes you as most interesting about this? The notion that it would lead to other similar types of deals across other companies, or splitting the liabilities? What should investors and viewers think about first?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So a couple different things to, I guess, unpack here. Number one, clearly the company has already been heading in this direction for a number of months, even into last year when they announced the reorganization. So I think the idea of getting to this point isn't overly surprising to anyone, but I would say the timing is, and it probably happened a lot faster than what some people were expecting. As far as the debt and the structure of it, I think the most interesting thing to us is that the global networks piece, the cable networks, is going to actually retain a 20% stake in the streaming and studio company. So that gives them some additional flexibility to
Pause. So you got HBO Max, HBO, New Line Cinema, Warner Brothers, the studio, and DC Studios. DC Studios is the comic version of Marvel, right? So those are all the streaming and studios. Then over here you have HGTV, Major League Baseball, CNN, National Hockey League, NCAA, March Madness, of course, TBS and Food Network, and OWN.
Lever and actually potentially look.
These two used to be together, but no more. There's the split.
To bring in a new partner. So I think there's a lot of potential opportunities as far as what happens with that stake.
So is it going to do what they intended to do, which is unlock value in both companies?
I mean, that's definitely the intention. Because what I think, when we saw this, and you mentioned it before the commercial, that the stock clearly has been underperforming since putting these companies together with the AT&T Warner Media acquisition. And so they essentially had to do something. And that was part of the reason why we upgraded early this year. We wrote a note that said delever or deliver. And essentially they need to do both. And so to do both, they are ultimately, what you just said, just going to look to split up this company and look to unlock value on both sides. We think there's a tremendous amount of value on that studio on the Warner Brothers studio side and on HBO that is not being reflected in the stock price today.
So you heard him say that there is more value on this side than this side, right? Because with this side here, you have Major League Baseball right there. You have NHL right there, Major Hockey League. And you also have NCAA. Like I said, the rights for sports can get up into the billions, right? So while it's easy to have HGTV, Food Network, TBS create unscripted content, the maintenance on these channels, ladies and gentlemen, is the problem. So that's why the debt is going to over here, because guess what? Hopefully what Warner Bros. Discovery is thinking is that if all these networks produce studios that can create shows for HBO Max, that can create shows for HBO, that these studios can create documentaries or films for these here, don't know about DC Studios, honestly, because the only thing I could think for, DC Studios is maybe some comic book documentaries from CNN, because CNN does do documentaries and stuff. And then maybe some content for, and then maybe TBS can make some content for DC Studios. But besides, those niche groups, there's not really too much more that they can do.
At Netflix, do they essentially just stick to their knitting?
Studio on the Warner Brothers Studio side and on HBO, that is not being reflected in the stock price today.
What do you think the reaction is at YouTube, at Netflix? Do they essentially just stick to their knitting?
Well, I think those two specifically have clearly already won in terms of streaming. Michael Nathanson, my colleague, has done a lot of work around the YouTube story and crowned them the king of media. Netflix clearly has also won the streaming wars, as we've put it. So I don't think either of them have to do anything differently as it relates to this. I think what this really does is help unlock that value that was baked in terms of the worries around the global networks and the cash flows there, and around the leverage. So trying to structure a deal in a way that unlocks the Warner Brothers value.
David Faber, who's been reporting on this extensively, our colleague, mentioned the prospect of M&A as part of the plan here. That's also part of
mergers and acquisitions.
The plan for our parent company, Comcast, spinning off Versant, the cable networks, which includes CNBC. I wonder what kind of tie-ups you're expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I think all options are definitely on the table. That the company has essentially admitted it as much in terms of after this tax-free spin happens in 26. I think that they're open and willing to partner with all different possibilities here in terms of M&A. Clearly, your own company is one of those prime examples. We would also point to Paramount being another potential partner, both on the streaming side and on the network side, but obviously they need to close their deal first. And then there's a number of other independent cable networks to look at as well.
There is that there.
Now trades separately on the NASDAQ. It's more than doubled in the same period. For more on the state of media and the recent spinoffs, we're joined by Lionsgate Vice Chair Michael Burns. Michael, welcome back to Fast. Always great to see you in person.
Thank you for having me.
This is like the third spinoff. I mean, of course, there's Comcast and Versant, which will happen. When you did your spinoff, I mean, did you think that this was going to sort of kick off a spate of these spinoffs? And what about the industry is causing this?
What do they say, that imitation is the greatest form of flattery? This took a long time to make happen. We thought this was in the best interest of our shareholders. And the one thing I want to correct, you're right that the Lion stock's down 4%, but that's without factoring the Starz shares that Lionsgate shareholders got. And that stock has traded well. But I think that, this is the beginning of, I think it's a smart thing for the industry to do. We wanted to be a pure play content business on one side and Starz over on as a separate public company. So we like the multiples for the pure play content business, and we are back to our roots again.
What happens with the linear side of the business in your view? That's the side that everybody wants to spin off and let go of.
If they don't make a move digitally, I think that linear has got a big problem. But I think that they can convert to linear, to apps and all of that, but they have to make that move. And frankly, I think they've taken a long time to make that move.
Yep. Michael, on the studio front, John Wick, the series, is one of my favorite all time. I got to go back to Rocky, right, guy, to kind of really appreciate a series like that. Ballerina just came out. The prior four John Wicks, 1.1 billion cumulative gross. That's massive, right? So I'm assuming Ballerina is going to have some legs. I loved it. I saw it last night. How important are these sort of franchise, structures going forward? Because it seems like that's a thing in the movie business right now.
If you can have a built-in audience and you can piggyback off of the other titles in that series, sure, that helps. Ballerina was a little bit of a challenge because it was a character that never showed up in any of the previous John Wicks. I think our marketing team did a really good job. It did $25 million opening weekend. I wish it did $35 million, but I think it will have legs. And the audience reaction, 93% positive. And then on top of that, you had great Rotten Tomato scores. So I feel like it's going to keep running and running, and it'll be a great library title. No one gives us the credit for the library that we've built. $20 billion of content spent over the last 20 years. And when Ballerina was coming out, every single one of the John Wick titles uptick across every single platform.
Seems like Steve Mnuchin got the memo because their Liberty Capital, I think they're called, maybe I'm wrong, but they just basically doubled their stake in your company. And it seems as though they obviously see something that maybe other people have yet to see. Can you sort of speak to that?
I think if you looked up smart money, it'd probably be a picture of Steve Mnuchin. So he understands our business. We've had a lot of conversations with him over the years. He likes the model of what we have. He's been in the movie business before. He's got a big fund right now, and we're happy to have him as a big shareholder.
So we're going to have all these companies, and they've broken apart in two pieces. What does the industry look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Who is combined? Who's not combined? What do the pieces end up looking like?
This is when I shake my magic 8-ball.
I think your 8-ball is better than most of ours. So
yeah, I think that I don't see them coming back together. I think once you separate pure content and like we did, they're not going to come back together. It's harder to pull them apart. I think David's about to find that out, and I'm sure they thought this through, and it's going to work out well. But what do I think it looks like? I think you're going to see consolidation in the linear networks. I think you'll see combinations of linear networks with some of the non-commercial channels. It's all about saving money, economics, economic benefit by doing that. And I think the pure play content businesses, will there be consolidation down the road? Probably. There are only 5 great libraries in the world, and we're one of them.
So I wanted to play that. That was a new video there. I wanted to bring this in, right? Because as you guys know, theme parks are huge. Once you watch this.
You step in and you get to see all your favorite characters and all the surrounding environment and all the animated, substantive entertainment elements in it.
This spring, Universal Orlando opened the gates to Epic Universe. Costing an estimated $7 billion, Epic Universe is Comcast's biggest theme park investment to date. It also marks the first theme park opening in the US in more than 2 decades. Comcast is the parent company of CNBC.
When you walk in and you step through Peach's Castle and you're standing in Super Nintendo World, you feel like you've been dropped into the game.
Universal's flagship resort welcomes around 20 million visitors annually, a number it's hoping to boost during Epic's inaugural summer. Epic Universe includes 5 brand new themed worlds that combine a wide variety of new and existing IP for the park. How to Train Your Dragon's Isle of Berk, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter's Ministry of Magic, Celestial Park, Super Nintendo World, and a throwback to classic monster movies with Dark Universe.
One of the most amazing attractions I'd say that we've ever built is in that world. It's called Monsters Unchained.
While only 7% of Comcast's overall revenue, theme parks brought in 8.
So as you can see here, 7% theme park revenue, but it brought in $8.6 billion. Now, with that being said, let's keep rolling because the amount that the theme parks bring in for Disney is a lot higher.
$8.6 billion in 2024.
$8.6 billion for Comcast theme park revenue in 2020.
And an additional $1.8 billion in Q1 2025.
As you can see there.
That makes Epic's addition a clear growth opportunity for the segment.
A reasonable estimate of revenue for Epic is about $2 billion on an annualized basis, with about a 30 to 35% profit margin.
Both Disney and Universal's parent company Comcast saw their share prices peak in 2021 as the post-COVID tourism wave saw pent-up travel demand spilling into theme parks. For both companies, the theme park segments are consistent performers, offsetting volatility in areas like film and linear TV.
Industry insiders are telling me that the media giant's parks divisions are more important than ever. A larger part of Comcast once it spins off Versant, which includes CNBC, and almost 60% of Disney's operating income comes from its parks division. The time of transition and
60% of Disney's profit for the whole company of Disney is their theme parks. Now, you're probably wondering, Braylon, why are you bringing this up? I am so glad that you asked, right? Because this right here, ladies and gentlemen. Warner Bros. Discovery announces new global division covering experiences, theme parks, studio tours, exhibitions, and retail destinations, and more. So Bruce Campbell, Chief Revenue and Strategy Officer for Warner Bros. Discovery today, or that day, announced a new global structure for the company's worldwide studio tours, retail destinations, touring exhibitions, and all location-based experiences, bringing together the existing licensed entertainment and owned and operated teams into a single division. Warner Bros. Discovery Global Experiences will be charged with strategically expanding the company's fan-facing experiences and pursuing new businesses that capitalize on the company's world-class intellectual property, like those with Universal Destinations and Experiences and Morale. Wait for that. And its award-winning operating businesses, including Warner Bros. Studio Tours in London, Hollywood, and Tokyo, right? So right here, Peter Van Roden, Executive Vice President of Global Themed Entertainment, will continue his role leading the licensed location-based entertainment theme parks business, as well as the division's global theme park development. So Warner Bros. Discovery has a partnership with Universal Destinations and Experiences for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Yeah. Sarah Roos, Executive Vice President, Worldwide Studio Tours and Retail, will continue her role leading the Warner Bros. Discovery owned and operated experiences, including the award-winning Warner Bros. Studio Tour, the Mega Harry Potter, the Warner Bros. Studio Tour Hollywood, and the Harry Potter flagship at other retail stores. And by the way, going back to this for a little bit, Peter Van Roden is in charge of morale works with morale for Warner Brothers World Abu Dhabi and the Warner Bros. Abu Dhabi and other companies' license exhibitions. Now, you're probably wondering, well, Bray, what about Looney Tunes? Glad you asked. That is with Six Flags. It's going to have to be up to Warner Bros. To recognize their capital. Now, of course, Disney's not going to take on Looney Tunes because Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse are rivals, although they appeared in Who Framed Roger Rabbit one time. That was the only time. Universal really doesn't have cartoons like that. So remember how I talked about that Epic Universe expansion plan? How I said that Islands of Adventure could be for Super Mario Sunshine. They could turn that into, Bugs Bunny Town, right? Could be. So, with that being said, here, let me pull this up. This is Warner Brothers World Abu Dhabi, right? So this is an indoor theme park. That's Roadrunner loading up there. That is the hotel. No, I'm not joking with you. That's the actual hotel in Abu Dhabi. So they have different rides here. Oh, they even got safe rides for pregnant women. That's awesome. So as you can see here, Tweety's Wild Rockets. Let's see if we can. So as you can see, Tweety's Wild Rockets there. So basically, you spin around and around as you and Tweety steer clear of Sylvester there. Going back. Now, this is also an indoor amusement park, right? So just want you guys to know that. So they got the Flintstones Bedrock Adventure. Take in the prehistoric sights and sounds of Bedrock on a day in the life of everyone's favorite Stone Age family. So you got the Bedrock River Adventure, Fast and Furious, play on Fast and Furious. Join us in this furious race around Coyote Country, above high dunes, over hills, tight turns, as Wally Coyote does his best to catch Road Runner. The Jetsons Cosmic Orbiter. Climb aboard, take a high energy spin, your very own spacecraft above the sky. Then park your craft to pay a visit to your favorite friends in that Gulch. Marvin the Martian Crater Crashers. Quick Marvin needs your help. Bump and smash. And they have thrills, right? So as you can see here, Tom and Cherry's Swiss cheese spin. Twists, turns, and hilarious havoc. Everyone's favorite cartoon duo create madcap mayhem as Tom chases Jerry and Jerry chases the cheese, prepare for chaos. Yeah. Yeah. I know, right? So there could be a very well possibility, as you can see here. This looks like Batman of some kind. Maybe it's Batman. No idea. So as you can see there, water ride with the Flintstones. Right here, Daffy Duck propelled pogo stick. Anna Mayhem. Batman Night Flight. Scarecrow Raid. Justice League World War Attacks. So imagine if they're able to bring this park right to Orlando. That would be huge, right? Because then guess what? Warner Bros. Will not have to use Universal, and Warner Bros. Can invest in their property. The Looney Tunes characters, merchandise-wise and culturally, bar none. And I think that probably will be the move. Now I know what you're thinking, Bray. Or I know what you're probably thinking. Bray, how does this have to do with the Oprah Winfrey Network? I got you. So in case you did not know, there's this thing, right? Called Today Cafe, right? So the Today Show has a cafe at Universal Orlando Resort. Now imagine if they had the own soul food cafe at Warner Brothers World in Orlando. And you can go try soul food dishes, not just from soul food chefs around the country, but also to your favorite own celebrities also creating soul food dishes as well. And they do have let's see here, menus. And they have, let's see here. So as you can see, they have Craig Artisan chicken salad BLT platter. So that's Craig. Craig Melvin made his own sandwich. So everybody, makes their own sandwich and stuff. So imagine the different properties. Imagine a HGTV interactive experience, right? Kind of like innovations at Walt Disney World, right? So finally here, I want y'all to see this. This was interesting to me about reality TV. Here we go.
Reality TV is collapsing behind the scenes. Hi, it's producer Patrick bringing you the latest in the ever-evolving film and TV industry. America's Got Talent made headlines after letting its longtime showrunner go, and it's not because of ratings. Jason Raff, who's been at the helm since season 1, quietly exited after 19 seasons. Reports say that the departure came amid major budget cuts. But Raff's not alone. Reality TV producers across the board are stepping back, and it's not because they want to, but because the math no longer works. Reality TV is down nearly 60%, with Film LA reporting 9 consecutive quarters showing year-by-year decline. One executive told me they walked away from a popular NBC reality series because they were offered only half of what they made the previous season. Reality Blurred says that seasoned story producers who once made up to $3,000 a week are now seeing gigs offered for about $1,500. That is, if they're lucky enough to find one. One Emmy-winning producer told the outlet, "I have more friends out of work than any time I can remember. Really talented people. And the industry's dirty secret? Most reality producers are not unionized. That means there's no guaranteed pay scale, no standardized working hours, and no real protection." Fox Business covered the issue in depth, quoting one veteran producer who said, "There's no one checking in on our working conditions. And with fewer protections, smaller paychecks, even legacy shows are starting to lose top talent. It's a breaking point for people behind the curtain, and a warning sign for the reality television format itself. So if longtime reality producers walk away, well, who's left to make the shows?" As always, would love to hear your thoughts.
So I wanted to bring this in. My man, Paul from the Onyx Collab sent this to me, and that goes to Bravo, that goes to OWN, that goes to TBS. They're trying to do more unscripted stuff. That goes to any network in the world, reality TV. So if dramas and sitcoms are expensive. And then reality TV is becoming more obsolete because nobody wants to pay for quality. Then why do you think they're spending off the networks? Now, I did say we're going to talk about OWN, where they can go, right? So like I said, Disney does not have a black network. Now, OWN could fold into Freeform, right? And Oprah does have a good relationship with, ABC. For example, A Wrinkle in Time, Oprah acted in that, and also too, the Oprah Winfrey Network was on many ABC stations. And I think Oprah did just a menopause special on ABC, so it could go there, right? Let me see who else here. Just throwing out some numbers here. Now, Vizio, which is owned by Walmart, right? I know what you're thinking. Why would Walmart want to own a black network? Well, guess what? If OWN is on every Vizio TV, right? Black brands can advertise their products on the Oprah Winfrey Network, and then you can see those products that were on OWN in Walmart stores, right? So you have that. Now, Sony does not have a television network. That could be huge for them. Now, they do have Sony Pictures Television, which is Shark Tank, oh my God, Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, all that, right? Trying to see who else here. Amazon, maybe, right? Because Amazon, they have Culture Rated, which is their Black BIPOC section of Amazon Prime Video. So imagine, the new Culture Rated studios from Amazon, that they have a black network to be able to put those shows on. So that's an option there. Now, Google is a bit of a stretch, right? I think Google will probably buy like USA Network and then just make that, the YouTube Entertainment Network, or YEN, YEN. That's my guess. But they could buy OWN, right? And they could probably have black content creators from YouTube contribute to the Oprah Winfrey Network. So that's an easy play there. Trying to see if there's anybody else here that I can see. Like I said, it's a black network, so it's more niche. You know what I mean? But I think those are all the ones I can think of off the top of my head right now. Yeah, I think those are all the ones I can think off the top of my head. But yep, that is about it for me, y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed this live. Like I said, I think that everybody needs to be paying attention to the bigger assignment. Like I said, if you understand the moves that are happening around you, you understand the move. Let me flip it, reverse and wind it back. If you understand the moves that are happening around you, you'll understand what you're seeing in front of you. I'm gonna turn off my camera now because we done the whole show for over an hour. Yes, we have. Woo, child. So yeah, that's basically the show. I'm glad I was able to get all that in within the time frame that we did. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and get ready for Real Housewives of Atlanta, which is literally coming up here in like minutes. You know what I mean? But I do hope that you found this informative, that you found this joyful, that you found this to be something of excitement. So now, when you look at the state of black media, you can see where we are. Disney has no black network. I did say before that OWN could. Yeah, I did say that before, so I just double spoke. But anyway, as you can see, Disney, no black network. NBC Universal, black people watch. Bravo, right? Warner Bros. Discovery has the Oprah Winfrey Network. Fox has Fox Soul. Next Star Media Group has the CW, and then BET is under Paramount. So, like I said, the game is changing of media for sure. And like I said, just pay attention, y'all. Just pay attention, because believe me, there are bigger issues to fry than just being on, just being in a camp just to have a conversation where that person that you're defending that conversation would not give a damn fuck or shit if you were burning, and they would not piss on you to save your ass. Okay. But then also too, hang on, let me say this. A celebrity could buy the network, right? And let's say, for example, Stars and OWN combining, right? So then you have the old school audience of the Oprah Winfrey Network with the adult nature of Stars. That would be a wild card, but I like that move. So anyway, one love, much love, all love. I feel the love and send it right back to you. I'll see you in just a little bit for Roa. Bye, everybody.
I thought I should tell you, they've been talking about you. Yeah, they've been talking about you. They've been talking about the fact that they've done everything they could to stop you and everything they could to block you, but you still win. They've been talking about the fact that they have undermined your success and they have tried to sabotage your seasons, but you keep winning. They've been talking about the fact that even though they don't like each other, they get together to try to kill you, but you keep winning. They've been talking about the fact that you were voted least likely to succeed, but like cream, you keep rising to the top. They've been talking about how they tried to burn your world down, but like the phoenix, you rose from the ashes. They've been talking about you. And you know what they say? Oh, she's just lucky. He's just lucky. But no, you ain't lucky. You're anointed. You got something on you. You got favor on you. You got power on you. You were born to win. Now they can call it luck, but it's grace. They can call it luck, but it's favor. But whatever they call it, it doesn't matter, because you know what God calls you? Do you know what God calls you? A winner.
Prepare for a journey beyond imagination, beyond belief, beyond anything you've experienced before. Universal Epic Universe, a new theme park where you'll step through extraordinary portals to 5 immersive worlds. Prepare for a cosmic voyage of discovery, an isle of fire-breathing excitement, a shadowy world of monsters and mystery, new wonders in the wizarding world, and a new way to play. Plus the splendor of a magnificent resort hotel overlooking the park. It's all new excitement at Universal Orlando Resort. A week's worth of vacation thrills with 4 amazing theme parks, a variety of spectacular themed hotels, and incredible dining and entertainment. It's all at Universal Orlando Resort, where you'll find new adventures every day. Explore the astonishing worlds of Universal Epic Universe at Universal Orlando Resort.